Your girl is back. My bangs are back. I have returned to my former self. I just missed the bangs, guys. I missed the bangs, and so here we are. Got my hair cut. It feels amazing. I feel like a new woman. Today, we are going to be talking about my most anticipated thrillers that are coming out in 2024. There are 11 of them here that I want to share with you. The first book I want to share with you coming out in January is The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. This has a gothic vibe to it. It's coming out on January 9th, so really not that much longer to wait. This follows a woman named Ruby. And when Ruby dies, she is very wealthy and very well known in her community. She was notoriously known as being someone who was kidnapped as a child and has had something like 4 of her husbands die mysteriously. Now, Ruby has lived her years in a beautiful mansion in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And that mansion is now being passed on to her son, Cam. But surprisingly, Cam wants nothing to do with this house. He just doesn't, and he backs away from his inheritance. He's really built a life for himself in Colorado. He married a woman named Jules, and it's about 10 years after the death of his mother that he is essentially summoned back to this mansion called, I think, Ashby House, because his uncle has died. Cam isn't happy about it whatsoever. He goes into the house and he just feels dread, essentially. But his wife, on the other hand, sees the beautiful views, sees the gorgeous house, and is like, maybe we should stick around. And then she starts to uncover the mystery surrounding her husband's mother, her mother-in-law. And that sounds like so much fun. Next is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is coming out January 16th. And this is one of those locked room mysteries, which is always very easy to flip the pages, I will say that. This follows Lana Ferrer. She is a movie star. She is very well known worldwide, and every spring at Easter, she invites her close friends to join her on her private Greek island. It's gone perfectly well for many years until now, when one of them ends up dead. Next is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This comes out on January 23rd. And this follows a woman named Emma with her husband. They have run into some hard times, and the only way out of this is to go and live at Emma's parents' home. Now, the only problem with that is, well, firstly, she owns the home with her sisters, who I don't think they're very close whatsoever. And also her parents were murdered at this house, and her husband doesn't know much about any of this. She goes back, she's trying to reconnect with her sisters, and they never ever talk about what happened to their parents, because one of them is thought to have potentially done the deed and murdered their parents. So everything kind of blows up in this book. In February, we're getting The Teacher by Frida McFadden. It's coming out on February 6th. We're following a woman named Eve. She is a high school math teacher. She has a really great life. She likes teaching. She's got a good husband, a good career. And this year, however, all of that is going to blow up in her face when she discovers that one girl who is known to lie and manipulate and basically ruin a lot of people's lives, she discovers that Addie is in her class. Addie herself has a lot of secrets that she doesn't want aired to the public, and I believe it might end up being like a battle between teacher and student. Sounds interesting. I love a good Frida McFadden. We are finally getting a new book by A.J. Finn. It has been years and years and years since he wrote The Woman in the Window, and now we're getting End of Story. It is coming out February 20th. In this book, we are meeting an author, a well-known mystery author named Sebastian Trapp. He has like months to live, and he's decided to reach out to a friend of his, like a coworker of his named Nikki, and asked Nikki to come to his home as he's dying so he can tell the story of his life. Now, 20 years later, Sebastian's wife and child just vanished in thin air. They vanished, and people are wondering if this mystery writer created like the perfect murder, the perfect mystery, and got away with murder. And Nikki is trying to piece this mystery together when all of a sudden a new mystery appears in their koi pond. A dead body is found in the pond, and suddenly they are trying to work through multiple mysteries. We're following Nikki trying to do this, as well as Sebastian's daughter, who is also perplexed about her father, who is her father, and they're trying to sort it out together. In March, we've got The Hunter by Tana French. It's coming out on March 5th. This is a follow-up to I think it's called The Searcher or The Seeker, one of those, which follows a detective who moves from America to a small town in Ireland and tries to solve things kind of reluctantly because he's retired. He doesn't want to be a detective anymore, but he kind of gets thrown into these situations. In the first book, Cal becomes very close to a young teen named Trey, and Trey's estranged father shows up suddenly in this book in this little Irish town, I think looking for gold, and it just throws everything into mayhem. It doesn't sound particularly thrillery, but Tana French absolutely like weaves that in to very complex relationships. So if you like a character-driven thriller or a mystery, I would definitely recommend like all of Tana French. The New Couple in 5B by Lisa Unger is coming out on March 6th. This one sounds like so much fun. It's definitely giving Lock Every Door by Riley Sager vibes. This follows a couple who are very much struggling to get along, to get by in New York, when all of a sudden Chad's late uncle gives them an incredible apartment in New York City. They move in, and it just seems too good to be true. And of course it is. The neighbors are so kind to them, but soon after moving in, they start to feel like things are slightly off in this apartment. First of all, the apartment building itself is known to have been riddled with crimes over the years, like strange, odd crimes. And then someone, of course, dies in the building, and our couple has to get to the bottom of it. In April, we're getting a new Nikki French. This is Have You Seen Charlotte Salter? It's coming out on April 4th. In 1990, we follow a family. Their mother, Charlotte Salter, just simply does not show up at her husband's 50th birthday party. They do not understand what happened to her. She truly just seems to have vanished into thin air. Now, it has been years since her mother disappeared, and Eddie, one of Charlotte's daughters, Eddie is moving in with her father, who has dementia and often mistakes her for his wife. It seems the kids have really let go of the hope of finding their mother until childhood friends start a podcast, like a true crime podcast, and really highlight her disappearance. And hopefully this finds where she went and what happened to her. Was she murdered? Did she just leave of her own accord? We find out in this book, and it just sounds wonderful. I love a good Nikki French, and apparently this is a chunky one, so I am in. In May, we have a new Ruth Ware. One Perfect Couple is coming out on May 28th and follows a woman named Lila. Lila and her boyfriend are kind of stuck in a rut. Her boyfriend is an aspiring actor. Their relationship isn't that great, and they decide to try out for a new reality TV show. And The Perfect Couple puts couple against couple. And so I think there are 5 couples in total. They're all competing against one another. And they are on an island alone. What could go wrong? A horrible storm comes through and just wipes them out. They are not able to contact the crew. They have nothing. They're just trying to survive. And of course, things just get worse and worse and worse and really do test all of these couples' relationships. On June 11th, we've got A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson, and we're following a woman named Martha. Martha is a librarian. She was honestly okay being alone, but she did meet someone. A man named Alan started to, wine and dine her. Now, he was on the road for like half of the year, but she's okay with that. He asked her to marry him and she says yes. Everything seems to be going fairly well a year into their marriage until she finds a blood streak on the back of one of his shirts that he wore at a conference. She starts to look into her husband and starts to suspect him, and she discovers that, interestingly enough, all of the cities that he goes to seems to have an unexplainable murder in those cities when he's there. And she's wondering if he is actually a murderer. Finally, Middle of the Night by Riley Sager is coming out on June 18th. This follows a young boy named Ethan. He is best friends with another little boy, and they decide very normally in the summer to have a little slumber party in a tent in the backyard. And when Ethan wakes up the next day to find himself completely alone, there are like knife shred marks on the tent. He knows that something happened. Overnight, his best friend, Billy, was taken. 30 years later, Ethan is still not over it. Billy is still not home, and he's haunted by it. He does have to go home for some apparent reason. And he returns and discovers that there are a lot of rumors that Billy is sighted, and all of the memories of that night start to come up for Ethan. What really happened to Billy? We need to wait until June to find out. Those are all of the thriller books that are coming out in 2024 thus far that look really good. I am very excited for all of them. If I had to choose just one to pre-order, I think I would choose A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson. Just the idea of thinking that your husband is a serial killer. Like, this has happened to women, like truly has happened to women, where they've married just a deranged man and had to deal with the consequences of that years later. I just find that so interesting. Let me know in the comments below. If you had to pick one of these to pre-order, what would you pick? I will talk with you very soon. Bye, guys.